Today I'm going to read for you the Shorter Charter of Christ as it appears in British Library Manuscript Additional 37049. Before I read it though, I want to say a few words about its background. So a charter is a medieval document, a legal document that's used to transfer property from one entity to another and demonstrate ownership, sort of the equivalent of what we would call a deed today. In the case of this poem, what's being transferred is life in heaven from Christ to believers in exchange for their rent, which is belief, good deeds, love for one's neighbor here on earth. So the poem is taking a legal formula and adapting it to a religious purpose. And so we see this in the Latin legal phrases that are studied throughout the poem. Charters were pretty widely known and used in the later Middle Ages, even among people who might not have firsthand experience with them, might not own land. They knew what a charter was and recognized its authority. So, for example, during the Peasants' Revolt in 1381, we have accounts of rebels seeking out and destroying charters, these legal instruments demonstrating property ownership, even though they weren't necessarily literate. The physical format of a charter was pretty standard. It's usually a big kind of broadside document, and it's sealed with a often red, wax seal at the bottom. And this is something, if you look at the illustration in 37049, you can see how the artist is really playing with both the conventional iconography of the crucifixion and what would have been the recognizable physical format of a deed or charter. The Middle English Charter of Christ seems to have been a pretty popular thing. It survives in both short versions, which is the one that appears in 37049, and in a long version, which is about 400 lines long, so considerably longer than the version that I'm going to read for you today. This short version appears in about 24 different manuscripts. These transcriptions are edited by Mary Caroline Spalding in her book on the Middle English Charters of Christ. And there's considerable variance in terms of lines, orders, particular choices around language that you might want to be thinking about. So on Moodle, I've linked you to an edited version from Bodleian Library manuscript Ashmole 61. And as I read this version from additional 37049, you might listen for and look for variants between the two versions. All right, so this is the shorter Middle English Charter of Christ. Sciant presentes et futuri. Wete now all that are here, and after shall be life and dear, that I, Jesus of Nazareth, for love of man hath suffered death. Upon the cross with wounds 5, whilst he was man in earth on leave, dedi et concessi. He have given and made a grant to all that asks it repentant. Heaven bliss without an ending, as long as ye am their king. Keep ye no more for all mean pain and smart, but true love man of thy heart, and at thou be in charity, and love thy neighbour as he love thee. This is the rent thou shalt give me, as to the chief lord of the fae. If any man will say now that I ne have died for man's prow, rather or man should be forlorn, yet would I eft be all to torn his testibus. Witness the earth that than did quake, and stones great that sunder break. Witness the veil that then did reef, and men that rose from dead to leaf. Witness the day that turned to night, and the sun that withdrew his light. Witness me mother and Saint John, and other that were there many on, in cujus rei testimonium, in witness of whilk thinge, my own seal thereto I hang. And for the more sickerness, the wound in me seed, the seal it is, with piercing sore of me heart, with a spear that was sharp, datum. This was given at Calvary, the first day of the great mercy, etc.